Hello, in the previous video we have seen how to structure a multi-page dash application, right? Now in this video we will first try to see what is Plotly graphs and how we can create different kinds of charts or graphs in Plotly, because if we think about Plotly, right, so we can think about if you have mainly the use case of Plotly is if you have some kind of ML applications, Plotly could act as a front end of that application, right? So you can visualize different what's happening in those applications in Plotly graphs, right? Or different kinds of Plotly plots are there as well. So in this video we will first try to get a very overview, a bird's eye view of what and how we can use graphs in Plotly. Next video onwards we will try to deep dive into all those specific stuff over there, okay? And then maybe slowly we will move to very advanced concept like the advanced callbacks and other more advanced concepts as well, because graphs actually have a very bigger space in Plotly. So it is very much important to understand how to work with graphs in Plotly. So if we just talk about this one, so that's why I have just created a very small presentation here, and we will see some example as well today. So if we think about graphs, how we can create graphs in Plotly, so mainly we are using our Plotly Python packages, right? So we are mainly writing a Python code to do everything over here. We are not writing any kind of JS or HTML over there, right? Because at the back end, Plotly handles most of the stuff over there. So from our Python package, basically we create figure objects. So the figure objects are basically the heart of the graph. So whenever you want to create any graphs or any plots in Plotly, like the bar chart or pie chart or some more advanced chart as well, you need to have a figure object which you will be defining it in your Python program, and that figure object will have all the necessary information to create and render a graph. Now the rendering stuff is handled by the plotly.js program. So as a developer you will be mainly working over here, how to define the figure object in your Python program, but behind the scene those figure objects will be serialized as a JSON, and then it will be passed to the plotly.js, and the plotly.js will do all the heavy lifting over here, like rendering those graphs, everything over here. So it will be very rare you will be working with any kind of JS program over here in your Plotly dash applications. So you will be mainly concerning about the Python program over here, okay? And behind the scene it will be automatically handled by Plotly. Now there are several ways you can create figure objects over here. So let's get a very brief overview. So in a nutshell, a figure object is nothing but a JSON file. So you can directly define the Python dictionary. So you can directly basically define the figure object as the Python dictionary, and then that dictionary will be converted to JSON before it calls to the plotly.js. Now this is a very rudimentary way of creating figures, which is not recommended at all, but it is good to know. And one thing you need to remember over here is every figure object has a corresponding structure, which we'll be discussing in the next video. A defining structure you have to maintain over there when you will be defining the figure object in your Python program, and it will be more important when we will be defining it as a Python dictionary over here as well. Let's take an example. So if you see it over here, I have just taken the same app which we have started working on, our polling app. So whatever work we'll be doing it in our polling app itself. Like whatever visualizations we'll be creating, we will try to create in our polling app itself, and we'll make changes to our app whenever it's necessary here, okay? Now couple of things. If you are working on dash 2.2, I think that HTML component and the core component has been deprecated. So now just to refer that HTML, you can just directly import it from dash. From dash import HTML. Similarly, for dash core component has moved to DCC. So from dash import DCC over here. So that is direct import over here. So these two changes you need to remember. Now here, if you see in the figure 1, I have basically given a title something like this one, a figure specified by Python dictionary. Now some of these examples I have taken from the dash documentation itself, and some of them I have created over here. So let's try to get the idea over here. Now if you see the figure 1, it is defined as a dictionary of Python. So we are using basically this dict1 to create the dictionary over here. And if you see it, like there are certain keys like data, layout, and inside the data there is a type called bar. We wanted to create a bar chart over here, and there is certain kind of XY array like table they have created just to get the two-dimensional data like XY data, so that we can plot it in a bar chart over here. Okay, so if we see this figure here, we have defined it as a dictionary, and the same figure we have passed is as a in the dcc.graph. So Plotly has a component called graph component, which is defined in the dash core component, and there if you see the main parameter, you need to pass it over here as a figure, which we were discussing in our slide as well, right? So in the figure, you'll be basically passing a figure object, which the first thing we learned is we can define it as a dictionary over here, right? Which has a specific structure over here. And if I just see the visualization now, so it will look something like this one over here. Okay, the figure specified by the Python dictionary. Now same graph we have created as graph. We'll see that one like the graph object and other way, but the same graph has been created in separate ways, so which we'll discuss in later as well. Okay, now I am not just going through the code deeply because we will anyway discuss all different kinds of charts in later videos as well. Now let us get back to the slide again. Now the second way you can create figure object is a very high level package called graph objects. Now you will be using this graph objects package figure class to basically create a figure object over here. We will see the difference over here is like there is a big difference like in terms of syntax, as well as we get a lot of helping hand over here as well. Like let's say whenever you will be defining as a Python dictionary, you need to know basically what are the different structures are there, and you need to basically make those key values properly over here. Now here you can use some kind of high level functions over here or methods over here to define the graph objects over here, and there is a good exception handling as well. So whenever you do some mistake, you will automatically get proper exception so that you can fix in your code as well over here. Okay, so let's see an example over here as well. And now if you see the figure 2, which we have used as and if you see it over here from plotly.graph objects, we basically import it as a go, right? And then we use the go.figure class. Basically we have created an object of this class to define the figure over here, right? And if you see, we have basically used similar kind of structure, whatever we have used it over here as a dictionary, like the data and the layout. But in the data, if you see it, whenever we wanted to create it as a dictionary, we pass it as a type as bar. Here we just need to do something like go.bar over here, a high level method over here, right? Just to accomplish the same stuff over here. And similar thing for layout as well over here. And the same figure 2, we have passed it inside the dcc.graph to render it in our browser over here. And as I said in the slide, the rendering stuff has been done by the plotly.js there. Okay, now if we just see the graph, it will look same because I have given the same x and y values over here. So this is the one over here, right? So it's a figure specified by the graph object over here. So this graph has been created using the graph object, which looks exactly same as this one, but the creation methods are different over here. Now let's talk about another method. Now the third method you can use is the plotly.express module. Now this is the one, is the recommended one. So mostly whenever we will be working with graphs, we will try to use the plotly.express package to create our graphs over here. Okay, until and unless it is absolutely necessary to create in some other way, because in near future probably like most of the graphs handling will be implemented over here in the plotly.express only. So probably it is best to use this guy over here. Let's take an example. So now if you see the figure 3, which you used the plotly express, now initially the px stuff we imported as plotly.express here, and here we did the similar stuff. If you see it, like here we can pass a basically the panda data frame as well. So we have basically created a data frame using the similar data over here, right? And then use that data frame to render the graph. Here you can give the x-axis, which will be the x-axis, which will be the y-axis, what will be the title, everything you can give it over here, right? So figure 3 we have basically used to create the graph using the plotly express here, which is the recommended way as well. And if you see the graph, it should look like the same and only. So if you see it over here, so this is looking the same graph whatever we have created by other method over here as well. But as I said, we will basically try to use plotly.express in most of the cases for now. Now there are a couple of other methods as well, like the figure factories. It's basically like it's used for very kind of specific use cases like the T diagram or the quiver plots. We will see that now today as well, like using this kind of specific, like very specific use case diagrams, we used to create it with the figure factories. Now there are specific documentation over here as well, which we will discuss. Now the thing is that like most of the figure factories graphs are now moving to plotly express. So maybe in near future this one will be obsolete as well, but for now there are certain graphs which we still need to use figure factories to create them. So that's why I have kept this one over here. Maybe in near future it will be deprecated as well. So if you see the code to create a quiver diagram, it will look like something like this one. So using the numpy we have created this one. So I think I have taken it from the plotly documentation only. Whenever we will be talking about in near future specifically about this quiver diagram, we will touch base this idea again. So that's why I'm just trying to give an overview over here. Okay, so we just use this cos and sine to achieve the diagram. And if I just see the figure 4, we have created similar way using dcc.graph, just passing the figure object over here, because as I said in the background all these things are actually a JSON structure, right, which are passed to the plotly.js. Now you can convert this figure into JSON and other structure over here as well using specific methods, which we'll discuss in later videos as well. So if we see the graph now, so it will look something like this one over here. Okay, so this kind of graph also you can create in plotly. Don't worry if you do not understand this one, we will touch base on this one in later videos definitely. Now there are other ways like the subplots over here, where you can create the multiple plots in a single plot, right? Like the kind of trellis diagram there, right? So that also we can create using plotly, which we will definitely see that one. Okay, so these are all the different ways of creating figure object in plotly, which is basically the heart of creating graphs and plots in or charts in plotly here. Okay, so from next video onwards we will try to deep dive of everything here. Like probably we'll first try to see what are the structure of this figure object, and then maybe slowly we'll move to different kinds of charts and graphs we can create in plotly. So hopefully this video was helpful. See you in the next video.